Hey everyone, my name is Cordell Glass, aka Hot Cocoa, and today we're going to talk about how to finish any and all of your creative projects. Let's get into it. Okay, so have you ever started a project, played with it for a little bit, got bored, and then left it to die, or left it to just sit alone in some kind of archived folder for eternity? Started another one, did the same thing, 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 over and over and over again? Then this video might be for you, because what we're talking about today is how to finish these projects instead of starting them, letting them get to a certain stage, and then abandoning them forever. I've finished a lot of projects in my day, and I've also studied the creative process academically, in coaching relationships, and like personally myself with a lot of reflection, and I've started to dial in a few things that I want to share with you that really helps me and other people finish these projects rather than getting them to a certain point and then abandoning them forever. The most important thing I'm going to start off with here is that finishing projects and getting them past this initial excitement phase is a different phase of the creative process. I've gone over this in other videos, but real quick, your creative process will start with what's known as a preparation phase, where you're getting new ideas, trying new things out, having new experiences. Those will then incubate in your mind in the incubation phase, like deep in your subconscious, it'll bubble up, and then eventually you'll hit the ideation phase. And this is where a lot of people thrive. This is when you're having ideas, you're experimenting, you're playing, you're getting started on a creative project inside whatever medium that you're doing. And then this is often where people stop. However, there's another phase that comes after this. This is called the evaluation phase. And this is really important because this is where you can elaborate on your projects. This is where you can iterate and try new things. And most importantly, this is when you start to dial in the details so that you're bringing this project from kind of a generalized idea to a honed and clear idea. This is really important. One of the reasons people struggle with this is, one, people don't realize that it's a different kind of phase. So people just don't even do it. You actually have to step into this process of evaluating your projects and dialing in the details. And it's a different kind of mindset than when you're getting the ideas out. In fact, I like to think of it as putting on a different hat. So when you're starting projects, you're getting ideas out, you're in your like ideation, brainstorming, getting in the zone hat. But the evaluation phase is more focused on creative problem solving than it is on creative expression. What I mean by that is, you're less trying to figure out what idea am I getting out of myself, what am I trying to get across. You've already figured that out in the ideation phase. The evaluation phase is when you look at that a little more objectively and you start to figure out, how do I make this sound better? How do I get the idea to be more clear? And this isn't just for music. This is for any type of creative project. This is something you can do on your own. This is something you can do with other people. A lot of people, their entire job is to just take raw ideas and then enter the evaluation phase and kind of dial them in using their own skills and tools and techniques. This is what a lot of different kinds of engineers and editors do. Which is why those types of roles exist, is because those people have specialized in the skill of evaluating and iterating and cleaning up. And other people specialize in the skill of getting big ideas out and getting sketches and demos and just kind of creating the raw materials. But you can actually do both. Everyone can do both of these things. If you've ever done one of these, you can absolutely do the other one. It just takes some time and dedication, and most importantly, attention. Because if you're not putting your attention on finishing projects, then they'll never get finished. That's a huge reason why people don't finish any projects, is they will start them, and then they'll take their attention away and put it on something else. But if you can put your attention on elaborating, iterating, clarifying, and cleaning up your projects, they will eventually get done. A lot of times people will say that they're just not motivated or interested, or it doesn't feel engaging to actually finish these projects. And the reason for that is you're not getting into flow with your evaluation phase. Flow is when your skill is perfectly matched with your challenge, you're getting into the zone, and everything just kind of unfolds on its own, and time changes and all this fun stuff. People are really good at getting into flow with their ideation phase, but you can also get into flow with your evaluation phase. You can find challenges that match your skills of cleaning and clarifying and evaluating, and then once you've started to dial that in, you can actually have just as much fun finishing projects as you do starting them and working on them in the beginning phases. But the thing is, it's a different skill set, like I was saying before. So if you try to use all the same skills of getting an idea out, it's going to be a mismatch. And so a lot of times the challenge of finishing an idea is higher than people's skill. And so then you don't get into flow and you don't enjoy it. What's important is to choose challenges that match your skill in terms of finishing your project. If you can finish it in a way that makes sense for your skills and your abilities, it'll just be more fun. You'll feel more intrinsically motivated to work on it. And then you'll be more likely to continue entering this evaluation phase. And the more you continue entering the evaluation phase, the better you'll get at it, and the more projects you'll finish, so you'll have more experience. And it just starts to lead to an upward spiral of like, not only are you enjoying starting projects, but you're enjoying finishing projects, and you're getting better at both of those together. It'll kind of oscillate upwards. Another thing people will often say when they're struggling with finishing projects is that they've got too many ideas. They've got too many different projects that they're interested in or that they've started, so they can't finish anything. And I honestly just don't buy that excuse or that justification. Granted, everyone's time is finite, and a lot of people do have lots of projects. I myself am balancing lots of different diverse projects that all have different needs. The thing is, if you just change your perspective on how long these things take, it's a completely different ballgame. Because yes, you can't finish all of these projects in the same amount of time that you'd finish one project, but if you're continuously dedicating yourself to putting attention on your evaluation phase, with a lot of these projects, eventually they'll all be done, right? So you can kind of have like a rolling process of projects that are finished, projects that are somewhere in the middle. And if you're constantly moving your attention through these different phases, all of them will continue to go through these phases. But if you're putting your attention on the beginning and the middle of these projects, and then you never place your attention on the evaluation phase and the kind of ending parts of completing a project, that's why nothing gets finished. It's just a matter of where you're prioritizing your time and prioritizing your attention. And hopefully after this video, you'll start to see that prioritizing your attention on actually finishing your projects in a way that's fun, so you're actually motivated to do it, is one of the key ways to actually make sure that you're finishing these projects. A kind of crazy way to think about this is that when you're finishing a project, it's just another creative choice. Just like everything else that you've done in any creative project leading up to that. If you're painting, you have to choose what kind of canvas you're going to use, what kind of paint you're going to use, what kind of paintbrush you're going to use, what's the subject going to be. If you're making music, you have to make choices on the instrumentation and the tempo and the sound design and so many other things, right? And this is the case for every single creative medium. You're simply just making a series of creative choices over and over and over again. Sometimes those creative choices are made by a partner or a collaborator. Sometimes they're made by a client or someone overseeing the project, but these choices are always being made. So if you're struggling to finish your creative projects, it might be that you're just not making these types of creative choices. Ultimately, at some point, you'll simply choose to finish the project, just like you chose to start it. You can say, this project is now done. Now, that is often easier said than done. There's two questions that I like to ask myself before I actually make this creative choice that the project is finished. The first one is, can I make this project any better? This goes back to the evaluation phase. Can I continue to evaluate the project? Can I iterate? Can I improve on what's happening here? And if I can, then I'm likely to continue working on it. But if I can't make it any better, there's a really good chance that I'm just going to call it and say that this is done because I did everything I can. The second question I like to ask myself is, do I even want to work on this anymore? This is where a lot of people might get stuck as well. If you're not enjoying the process of the evaluation phase, you might feel like, oh, I just don't want to work on it, so I'll just never finish it, right? This is a slightly different question. This question kind of assumes that I can get into flow evaluating a project. It's possible. I've likely already done it. But is there anything left? Are there any challenges left in this project that I would enjoy doing? If the answer is no to that, I don't even want to work on it anymore, then again, you can just decide that the project is done. And if you're getting a no to both of those, there's nothing I can do to make it better, and I don't want to work on it anymore, then just call it finished. And it's done. And if you are the creator, you're the executive producer, you're the person making this thing, no one can tell you that it's not done. People might have suggestions on how you could improve it, but you've already thought about this, and you've decided this project is finished. That's one of the key ways to actually finish projects. It sounds so simple, but so much about well-being and psychology really is just decide it's done. There's a pernicious mindset that keeps people from making that creative choice, and it often turns into a creative block. It's known as perfectionism. If you're really struggling with perfectionism, It means that you're not letting yourself make that choice that this is finished. You're continually getting stuck in a cycle of this could be better, it needs to be better, it has to be better. And there's a chance that it could be better, which goes back to the questions I was asking. If you can actually make it better, then make it better. But that second question is really key here. If you do not enjoy making this better, it's hindering your other creative projects and it's keeping you from working in a way that's meaningful. That's where perfectionism might be keeping you back. And so in this case, if you're struggling with this kind of perfectionism, again, you've got two options. The first one is to accept these imperfections. You can accept them in your work, you can accept them in yourself. Nothing's going to be perfect. No one has ever created the perfect anything. And striving to hit this kind of 100% is just implausible, and it's keeping you from creating your best work. What you can do is accept those limitations or those imperfections and make those a priority in your next project. So finish this imperfect project and make sure that whatever was really standing out to you is even better in the next one. If you continually do this, you finish a project, accept its imperfections, and improve those imperfections on your next project. Also finish that project, do the same thing over and over again. Your 5th, 10th, 20th, 50th project will be so much better than where you started because you're actively improving these things, and you'll have finished projects. But if you're constantly trying to perfect this one project, you're not accepting the imperfections, you may never finish that one project, you may never finish any other projects, and you may never get to the point where you're actually getting better at that skill because you're just digging yourself into a hole. So that's the first thing you can do with working on perfectionism, is accept those imperfections and improve that on the next one. The second thing you can do to deal with your perfectionism is to just improve those skills. You might be struggling to reach this really high standard for yourself because you just don't have the skills to achieve what your vision is for a particular project. And in that case, you might just need to go back and practice, build the skill, get into deliberate practice, take some time away from the project so that you actually can come to it with the abilities you need to reach that standard. But this is tricky because if you are really setting a high standard, a perfectionist standard, you may never actually reach those skills. So I would really recommend trying that first one I suggested, that first technique, accepting your imperfections and building on those in the next project. But sometimes you do just need some practice. You just need to take a class, you just need to get some mentorship, or, just get in some more reps on something that's relevant to your creative work, and then come back to the project and see if these new skills can get you to the point where, again, you make the choice to call this project done. That was a lot, but honestly, I really hope this video helps you actually finish these projects, because the more finished projects we have in the world, the more culture can evolve, the more you can build your own skills and contribute what you have to the rest of the world. And I think that's beautiful. So let me know if there's anything I missed about actually finishing your creative projects. Let me know if you have any questions or anything that you'd like me to elaborate on down in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about perfectionism and mindsets, you can go to upwardacts.com, where I've got a ton of free resources. I got a podcast, I got articles, a bunch of concept maps. A lot of this stuff is designed to help you with your creative process if you're struggling. So check it out, like, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.